Hi everyone, welcome to another maths video by Maths with Sarah. So today we've got a real challenge for you. It's this really fun looking Surds question. So we've been given this really quite nasty looking equation. We've got two Surds, we've got fraction Surds, we've got all sorts going on in this question, and we've been asked to simplify it, giving your answer in the form A root 5 over B. So this question came from a GCSE Maths paper. It's a paper 1, so no using your calculators, otherwise you could just shove it straight in, easy peasy. Paper 1, no calculators, we've got to simplify it by hand. And it's question 28, which I think was the last question on this paper. So definitely a real challenge. We're looking at grade 8, grade 9, A-star style questions. So there's a lot going on. As with all of these questions, I really advise you to pause the video now, have a go yourself. Even if you can't do the whole thing, at least start having to think about what methods you need to use. Think about your rules of Surds. If you're struggling with Surds, just a little tip. I've got a cheat sheet on my Instagram and my Twitter. I think it's linked to my YouTube as well somehow. So I really advise you to have a look at that. It's got all of the different rules and different bits and pieces that you can do with Surds. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at that because it just makes Surds so much easier. Okay, so let's get started with this one then. Right, we have got two different bits. What I'm going to do is just split them up because I can't deal with root 80 and root 2 and 2/9 at the same time. That's too much for me. Let's separate it out. So we'll start by dealing with root of 80. So let's bring this over here. Now, hopefully you remember when we simplify in Surds, there's however many different ways that you want of doing this. The thing that we're trying to do is 80 has quite a lot of factors. We are looking for a factor of 80 that is a square number, so that we can then square root it, get a whole number. Again, this is all on the Surd cheat sheet. So if you are really struggling to follow, hopefully I'm doing it in a step by step, but if you are really struggling to follow it, then I recommend you check out the cheat sheet. So I'm sure there's a higher factor than 4, but I'm going to start by taking out root 4. So what we can do is we can say, well, root 80 is the same as root 4 times root 4 times 20. You agree with me that 4 times 20 is equal to 80. We can then split that down even further. So we can say, well, this is the same as root 4 times by root 20. And then actually at this point, we can say, actually, we remember that 20 is 4 times 5. So we can then say, well, we've got the root 4 from here. We can then separate this out again into root 4 and root 5. So we've gone from root 80 to root 4 times root 4 times root 5. And hopefully what you're realizing is that the square root of 4 is 2. So we've got 2 times into the 2 times by root 5. And so if we kind of simplify all this out, what we're going to end up with is 4 root 5. Now, there's a handy little way to check that we're on the right lines here, is because we've been told that we need to give the answer in the form with a root 5 here. So that's a pretty good start, that we know that we're on the right lines if we've got a root 5 over here. So I'm definitely pretty pleased that we've got root 5s going on. Doesn't always work like that, but in this case, we can be fairly sure that we're doing it the right method. Okay, so the second part, we've got square root of 2 and 2/9. Now, that to me, my head is I'm struggling to get my head around this one. It's a little bit of a mind teaser. So what I'm going to do is, rather than having it as 2 and 2/9, I'm just going to put it as an improper fraction, because the mixed number, I can't quite figure that one out when it comes to Surds as well. So I'm going to split this down into, so if we do 2 times 9, that's 18, plus the 2, so that would give us 20 over 9. And somehow that seems to make more sense in my head than 2 and 2/9. Again, there'll be as many different ways as there are people to do this question. So if I've not done it the same way as you, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just is a different method, and that's fine. As long as you get the same answer, the right answer, doesn't matter how you do it. So again, with this, we've already simplified root 20 over here. What this is actually the same as is root 20 over root 9, which again is automatically becoming a little bit simpler, because we've got root 20, which we've already done over here, we know is the same as root 4 times by root 5. And we've got root 9 down here, which is 3. My brain's jumping ahead of me here. So now we can simplify out all of these. We know that root 4 is just the same as 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Times by root 5. Root 5 can't be simplified anymore because it's not a square number and it doesn't have any factors. And then we have this is all over square root of 9. Square root of 9 is, of course, 3. So we now have 2 halves of this, which we can put together. So we've now got 4 root 5 plus 2/3 root 5. So not only are we doing surds here, we're also doing fractions. So we've got to then do 4 plus, we can combine the root 5s by doing 4 plus 2/3 root 5. So we can either have it as, we can either write it as 4 and 2/3 root 5, which is a little bit complicated, or we can say, well, this is, we'll put it as an improper fraction. So we can say this is 4 times 2, which is 12 plus 2, which then gives us 14/3 root 5, which then obviously puts it in this format that we've been asked for here, which is the same as 14 root 5 all over 3. And this here is our final answer. So, surge questions. They're quite challenging, just purely by the fact that you're using something that's in a square root, I think throws a lot of people. Surds are just complicated. They're a grade 9 topic anyway. The things that are really important to remember with surds is how to simplify them. So simplifying this 80, not getting panicked when you see something like this, and think, well, actually, is there another way I can write it? Because yes, I might not be able to deal with 2 and 2/9, root 2 and 2/9, but I can deal with root 20 over 9. That somehow is a little bit easier to deal with. Remembering that it's okay to split these numbers up. So remembering that root 20 over root 9 is perfectly acceptable way of writing what we had before. Remembering that you're always trying to look at a factor, you're trying to find the factors that are also square numbers. Is always a good way of dealing with it. And again, even if you can't find, like here, I didn't find the factor. I mean, 16 is clearly a factor of 80, but it didn't even cross my mind that would be the number I'm looking for. So it's perfectly acceptable to do it in 2 steps, do root 4 and then realize, oh, actually I can take another root 4 out. That's fine. I would also recommend that you do it kind of similar to how I've done here, is think about it in separate, break it down. So you might not be able to deal with this whole question. If you're really struggling with this, you might be able to deal with the root 80, but don't even know how to deal with this one. Well, that's fine. Just doing this first half will get you half many of the marks anyway. So I really encourage you, break it down and then put all the bits back together at the end. That's absolutely fine. That technique works for a lot of surds, including rationalising the denominator as well, any of that sort of thing. If you're still having trouble with surds, then I recommend, I've got quite a few different videos on that, so I'll tag them all in this video. But I've also got a handy cheat sheet, which you can find on my Instagram and on my Twitter as well. So I recommend you have a look at that. It's got all of the different ways you can simplify surds on it. Lastly, I've got another challenge video coming out next week. So if you're enjoying these challenge videos, I really encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you know about everyone that's coming out. And lastly, I just want to say a massive thank you for watching this video.